Welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have everybody here today for this month's edition of Ask Quantum Touch. Very thrilled to have Richard Gordon and Karina Grant here. Many of you are familiar with Richard Gordon. He is the founder of Quantum-Touch. He is a best-selling author, visionary, energy healing pioneer, international speaker, and he recently just published yet another book. He has published many books, and he also just had a birthday. So happy birthday to Richard. We also have Karina Grant with us today. She has been with Quantum-Touch for 20 years. She is a practitioner and instructor trainer, and Quantum-Touch ambassador. She first came to Quantum-Touch in 2005 when she was searching for ways to help her father who had Parkinson's. And after just one Quantum-Touch session, her father's posture straightened up, and that was enough to inspire Karina to explore Quantum-Touch. And she very quickly fast-tracked into Quantum-Touch and became practitioner, instructor, and so on. And she is a very active teacher, and she has taught to very large audiences. We are really, really lucky to have her here today. So, Richard, hi, Karina. Happy to have you here today.
Hi, great to be here.
Hi, Richard. Hi, everybody. Great to be here.
Hey, Karina. Hi, long time.
Hi, Richard. You're looking great.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
And I don't know, Richard, if you were on in time, I mentioned your birthday. So happy birthday to you. I believe you've had a birthday since we met, or has it not happened already? I know it's this month.
It happened like a week ago or something.
Okay, so happy birthday and
Thank you.
congratulations on your latest book called The Lazarus Material. And
Actually,
I understand you have one or a couple more books in the works.
well, hold on.
For us.
It's the Lazarus material, not
Oh,
Lazarus.
Lazarus.
It has nothing to
Thank
do with
you.
the Bible, but it's the best psycho-spiritual material I've ever encountered by a factor of 10. And I carried notes around from 1980 to 1995. And for instance, if I were to say, how do you develop self-esteem? Most people would say something like, well, be good to yourself, right? Or say nice things to yourself. But what the real answer is, build honesty, integrity, responsibility, and self-trust within yourself. And they are a synergy. And those are the 4 pillars of internally based self-esteem. And so because the information is so clear and concise, you can actually use it. And the book has 50 chapters, and you can use a 50-sided dice and use the book as an oracle, because you can read this is not a book to put on the shelf. It's a book to keep on the table, because when you want guidance, you can roll the dice, and you can get it on Amazon, a 50-sided die, and then read the chapter and get like this thing coming through. But each time you read it, you'll see more, because I have not absorbed everything in that book yet. So it was 2,600 pages of notes reduced to about 400 pages in the book. And it still could have been more, but that was the best I could do. Anyway, that book just came out. This is the first time I've really announced it to anybody in the Quantum-Touch community. And there's going to be another book coming out in 1 week, which is my most exciting book I've ever created. It's going to be called Energy Reverses Entropy. And this book is about how to slow, stop, and reverse aging. And in about a week, it'll be available on Amazon. So write it down, Energy Reverses Entropy. And it's only going to be like $14.95 or $9.99 for an ebook. Totally available. But what's mind-blowing is I have about 35 or 50, oh my God, insights in the book that I didn't think I'd ever really put into a book. So this is my latest, clearest, most amazing stuff. But the book is actually a Trojan horse, because there's a magic chapter hidden in the middle of the book called chapter 7.5. That's actually a whole book in and of itself. It's got 8 chapters in it, and it's called Beyond the Edge. And so we're taking all these really excellent techniques we use to reverse aging, and then we're going to go way beyond into things that bring up my books, The Secret Nature of Matter and Discoveries, and things that will change physics, medicine, psychology, philosophy, and human identity forever. And offering, I think it was like 8 or 10 new laws of science. This thing is way out there. So it's about 240 or 50 pages altogether. And if you want to buy it and write a review, it's very much appreciated, because the world is going to find out about this and it's going to change everything.
Amazing. Thank you.
So
Richard.
that's my short version of the news, but I could have made it longer.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations. And we're all very excited for your next book. So I invite people to continue posting your questions in the chat, and we will get started right away. We're very, very lucky to have both Richard and Karina available here today to answer all your questions about quantum touch and energy healing. So we'll get started. The first question that we have comes from Mimi in the chat, and Mimi asks, can quantum touch heal cavities?
Well, that's an interesting question. Karina, have you had any experience with this?
I have had experience with teeth. I've had experience with structural alignment in the mouth. I've had experience with reversing gum disease, but not specifically the cavities. But what I will say is that, our teeth are bones, and we are aligning bones all day long and strengthening bones all day long in quantum touch. So my expectation, the way that I approach everything in quantum touch and healing, is it's all energy. And so it's only our perception of how hard it is or how solid it is that will really create, will set the tone for how much we can receive, which I expect taps into, what Richard was talking about in his new book of opening up the paradigm.
Well, I would add to that the alignment of teeth is something that I have also seen, but not for cosmetic purpose. So one woman, her teeth weren't buck teeth, but they did stick out a little bit like buck teeth, and she wanted them to come in. Body didn't see a problem with it, only her vanity did. But when somebody was in an auto accident and it caused their teeth to misalign, the body knew that they were off and it would move them back into alignment. Now, that said, the recalcification of the dentin on the teeth is also partially mechanical. In other words, it's a physical structural thing. And I think that you can use toothpastes that have MCHA calcium and other minerals and things that can support the teeth remineralizing. Now, it's also good to get the plaque off, because then the body can work more closely with it. And I was even thinking of coming up with something I called ugly toothpaste that Quantum Touch could sell and we could charge, but Jennifer has been overwhelmed by other projects, and it would have a base of coconut oil and MCHA calcium and about 6 or 7 other ingredients, but it's probably not going to happen. But anyway, it was one of my ideas because it does look ugly, but it works really well.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Karina. Yeah. And thank you, Mimi, for your question. The next question that we have, okay, Elena asks, what is the title of the book? So there was a couple of books that you mentioned. Do you want to share the titles again, Richard?
Yeah. The newest one, which will be out probably within a week, is called Energy Reverses Entropy. And this is the one on reversing aging. The idea is if you get the life force energy higher than the deterioration of the body, then you reverse the telomeres getting shorter, the stem cells getting weaker, the mitochondria becoming weaker, the proteins misfolding, the toxification of the cells, and the DNA breaking down. All of these are functions of entropy, going from order to disorder. The other book is called The Lazarus Material, Lazaris. This is based on 2,600 pages of notes I took from 1980 to 1995 and have been dragging around like a treasure ever since. And now I finally took it and turned it into about 400 pages of concise, clear guidance. And you're not going to find anything like this anywhere.
Excellent. And the Lazarus material is already available for purchase on Amazon, right?
And I recommend, if you buy it, spend another $9 and buy a 50-sided die. dice is another word for it. And you can just, click on the 50-sided die. It's $9, and you can roll it and then use it as an oracle to find what chapter to read, because you can read any chapter. There's 50 chapters and 50 sides to the die.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for your question, Elena. Bethany has a question. She says, when we are working energetically with people who are receiving chemotherapy and radiation treatments, is there a best way to work with them? Thank you.
Well, I think just working in any organs or systems of the body they need, or any part that needs healing, and the body will utilize the energy to go anywhere it needs to go. So if you have studied quantum touch, you know something very complex called the where does it hurt technique, where if you feel sensations moving to another place, you chase the pain. So you might start where there's pain, if there is pain. And secondly, if the sensations are moving, it's going to my liver. Oh, it's going to my throat. You just chase the sensations or the pain to the next place. And so we have heard many great stories about energy work, bringing people's appetite back, raising their mood, giving them more energy. We had an oncologist actually write us a long letter a long time ago. And he basically said everything but curing cancer. He said, it brings down their pain and they sleep better and the stress levels go down. And he just named every single thing you could think of, except that it healed them, because he wasn't allowed to say anything like that.
Thank you. Karina, do you have any thoughts about working with people who have had or are experiencing chemotherapy and radiation treatments? Do you have experience with this?
I do. I've actually given quantum touch to people whilst they're at hospital and I'm on the other end of the phone and they're plugged into their chemo quite a few times. And one particular lady comes to mind. She had been getting the headaches that can be associated with having chemo. And I don't think it took more than 2, maximum 3 QT sessions to get rid of headaches that were really severe for her, really, really severe. And in the end, we just did it while she was receiving the chemo. We thought that was and also logistically, that was the way it worked. But what I would say is keeping our attention on what it is we want to experience rather than on the chemo. So we're welcoming in wellness. And the best way I can, it's like you're moving from one reality into another reality, one possibility into another possibility. And whether you're using, level 1 or whether you're using level 4 heart energy, whatever of the workshops that you're using, my number 1 tip would be because energy follows thought. You want to keep your energy on what it is that we're bringing in rather than on the chemo. So that's what. And it's, we'll sit here and discuss it and everyone will say yes. But when you're in that moment and somebody's expressing their symptoms to you, and you might even be hearing the sounds of hospital in the background and all these things, you want to use all the techniques that you learn in the Quantum Touch workshops to really focus your energy on the higher vibrational frequencies. That would be my top tip. So, and the answer is going to be, for me, it's going to be the same answer for the questions that are going to say, what about this condition? And what about that condition? The answer is always going to be the same.
That's a really important point, because there's 50,000 conditions. The body heals itself. We raise the energy. We give the energy with the best intent possible. And then the body does its own self-healing. So this is where we get distracted in these calls sometimes. Well, what about condition 4,862? Well, same as condition 4,861.
Yeah, agree. Because the principles in Quantum Touch are the principles of healing. They're universal concepts. And those principles are absolute. Everything is energy. Energy responds to love. Our love has impact. This is never going to change.
Well said, Karina and Richard. Thank you so much. And thank you to Bethany for her question. Our next question comes from Pamela in the chat, and Pamela asks, is the heart chakra still the most powerful way to facilitate healing as taught in what used to be called Quantum Touch Level 2?
Richard, go ahead.
Okay, I always thought you might want to take it, but it's fine. Yeah, it's extraordinary. But the main thing isn't just using the heart, it's being in the heart. In other words, if you're coming from inner peace, if you can create a space where you lose track of time, if you can come from feeling the perfection that their body is seeking to attain, and then enter what I call loosely an angelic state of presence, where you're just giving. And you're in this very peaceful, giving state without an agenda. And it's fascinating to me that culturally, we have all these different ways that love is acceptable. There's love from a mother to a baby. There's love from a husband to a wife. There's love from grandparents and so forth. But this is a different expression of love. It's just giving, pure giving, where you enter a state, you're doing the deep breathing, you're doing the body awareness work, you're going deep inside yourself, and you get to a place where you're just giving and you lose track of time. Now you do that with the heart chakra, yeah, that's the best. And this is what differentiates quantum touch on so many levels from so many other techniques, because we're not waiting for the energy like a lot of other techniques, we're bringing it. And at the same time, we're able to access these states within ourselves that allow the energy to flow far more effectively and powerfully.
Thank you, Richard. Karina, do you want to offer anything on that question too?
Yeah, I mean, I loved Richard's answer. And I think one of the things that people find in Quantum Touch is Richard talks about giving. People often come to the workshops because they're looking for a way to help a loved one. That's how I came to Quantum Touch. But in the process, you end up experiencing a healing yourself. You end up experiencing a brand new version of yourself. And the giving becomes receiving, and the receiving becomes the giving. And in the end, it's just one timeless healing state. And whether that's coming from the heart, yes, the heart is this gateway to, you know, a feeling of love that just flows like a waterfall, or whether it's coming from your level 1 techniques, when you tap into what you love most, they're different doorways. They're different pathways into experience.
I use it. I have an AI note taker.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me that the reason we created the Ageless workshop was because I was teaching in Cancun, and we're looking around the room at people I hadn't seen in 10 and 20 years. And there's this sudden recognition. And I said, oh my God, the people who've been using Quantum Touch for 10 or 20 years hardly look like they've aged. And then the whole room looked around. We all identified ourselves and how old we were. Okay, I just turned 77. Okay. And I don't know it because I just did 35 dips a couple days ago. I'm stronger than I've ever been in my 20s or 30s. But once we realized the process of just using basic quantum touch is self-healing. And those who are using it a lot were doing a lot of self-healing. And then once we acknowledged that, we thought, oh my God, we need to develop these techniques, not just to work on others, but to ramp up your own energy levels for yourself. And even since I've finished writing the book, I've come up with maybe 8 or 10 new insights and discoveries. And so I'm starting to put together, like, you know, maybe once I get about 40 or 50, I'll put out a revised edition, because it's a constantly growing and evolving thing. But the idea that you can actually stop and reverse your own aging. And just like 2 years ago, I had crepe skin on my arm. Now it's completely gone. The reversal is unquestionably happening. And then in the workshop recently, we saw these extraordinary pictures of this, I think she's like 90-year-old woman who took pictures of her own hand. When I posted them on X, I got so much hate. People said, oh, that's Photoshop. That's somebody else's hand. That was taken at a different angle. That's cosmetic. She was dehydrated. They refused to believe that this lady took pictures of her own hand and did the best she could from the same desk position to get the same pictures, but they look like night and day. It's so extraordinary. And this changes the whole world because people have these abilities and we didn't know about it.
Fantastic. Thank you both. And thank you to Pamela for her question. So we have lots of questions coming in. The next one is from Soily in the chat. And Soily asked, the medial meniscus of the right knee is frayed and contains a 25 millimeter tear, adjacent to which loculated cysts have formed. Is it possible for Quantum Touch to repair and heal? Thank you.
I'll let you take that one, Karina.
Sure. Okay. First of all, hi, Soily. Great to see you here. I'm trying to see if I can see you on the video. Give me a wave if you're there. So, yes, I would say the same answer applies. Now, if it is, I can't see your name, but if it is the Soily that I think it is, we have had some amazing, amazing healing experiences together where we've seen incredible shifts happen. My answer, again, going back to, will it help with this? Can things that are torn heal? Can things that are supposedly irreversible heal? The way that I will always approach healing is, my answer to that will always be, go back to the fundamental principles of quantum touch. Everything is energy. Everything. Absolutely everything is energy. And we're working at the quantum level. And so my expectation is already one with excitement, because even if I haven't seen that specific thing heal, I've seen enough things that, break paradigms of what's possible. I've seen enough things heal that I'm already going to come into that with the expectation of, we're going to see something exciting or different happen. So here's Soily. I just seen you on the screen. Yes, it is. So Soily and I have together seen, multiple things happen, from, not being able to walk on one foot for some time to being able to walk again. So Soily, and you can feel free, to unmute and just remind yourself of all the many miracles that you've seen and that we've seen. And so my answer will be, go at it with neutrality of the non-attachment to it must be, but more so come at this with the intention of playfulness. Okay, this is a new ride I haven't been on before. Let's see how fun this is going to be. Because the energy in that part of your body is the same energy that came together and reorganized itself in your foot. That would be my answer.
Thank you, Soily, for your question. Beautiful answer, Karina. Thank you. So the next question is from Mary in the chat. And Mary asks, have you seen primitive reflex integration with quantum touch? I don't personally know what that is, but maybe Richard or Karina could weigh in if they do.
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that term.
Okay. Oh, Mary says she can explain. Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself, Mary.
Okay, thank you. I would like to explain, because not a lot of people know what I'm talking about. Primitive reflex integration. So primitive reflexes like the Moro reflex, the startle reflex. Ideally, those are integrated early, but in my case, I was born underweight and put in an incubator, and I didn't get that initial movement, the neurodevelopmental movement and the reflex integration. So I still have a huge startle reflex, and I have other primitive reflexes that are ideally integrated by toddlerhood. So I'm wondering if you've had experience with that.
I would suggest do energy healing on yourself, where you go back in time and run energy into yourself when you're in the incubator, because that's where the damage occurred. Now, all time is actually simultaneous. And I have seen extraordinary things happen for people when you do healing in the past. And in one of the classes, one of my friends, Chris, took the class, and he's a PhD, postdoc, skeptic, and he would have to do all kinds of crazy rationalizations in his head to be willing to even send the energy. He was good at sending it. He was a meditator, but he didn't allow himself the freedom to just do it easily. But anyway, there was a woman in class, and she said she had a lot of pain around her dad. And so Chris went back in time and gave her the experience of having a father. And she comes out of the meditation with tears just constantly rolling down her face, like I've never seen before. And she says, "Oh, I now know what it's like to have had a father." Okay. So you can do this for yourself, and you might want to get some practitioners to work on you in this way as well. But go back to the incubator. Let's send energy to you at that time and heal it, maybe in the first couple of years when this healing was very available to you, and just receive it then. Because, yeah, you've been carrying it around too long.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a lovely answer. And give yourself that experience. And just to add to that, if you take the level 4 workshop, you can add in the energy and essence technique. Give yourself the vibrational experience of it, as a frequency and experience. You can word it how you feel most connected, but what is the energy and essence of having a lovingly developed reflex system, and experience that as an energy. You can do it.
Yes.
You could make an icon for it. I had, just off the back of what Richard said about going back in time, in that workshop that I taught, there was a lady who one of the exercises we do, one of the processes is you go back in time and you choose a time frame, and your partner sends heart energy, loving energy from the heart to the time frame that you've chosen. So some people might say it's from birth to 3 months, or some people know that there was a specific time that they needed more love or more energy. And this lady asks to be sent healing to herself before she was verbal, to a very specific time frame. And she suddenly feels herself feeling safe for the first time as a baby. But what she didn't know was how it would affect her today. After that process, her ADHD completely healed. Yeah. And so we did the brain work in that workshop, and that was very powerful for her. Worked on the amygdala and all of that. But it was going back in time and experiencing that safety in those initial months in her life that really gave her that feeling of safety and peacefulness that enabled her to let go and never put the two together with her ADHD.
Of course, I can't make them up.
Thank you so much.
So,
Wow, great question, Mary. Thank you so much. And beautiful answers, Karina and Richard. That story gave me goosebumps, Karina. Thank you. Thank you for your question, Mary. So our next question comes from Akiko, and great to see you here, Akiko. Akiko, I believe, is tuning in from Japan, so it's very late there. We're lucky to have her here, and she has 2 questions. She asks, as a quantum touch practitioner, is it helpful to have psychic abilities, or is the healing process essentially the same without them? And part 2, she says, I assume that practicing quantum touch daily would naturally develop intuition or similar abilities. Is that the case? Go ahead, Richard and Karina.
Yes. I have seen many people who have taken the basic quantum touch workshop, and instantly they were able to perceive things, like they'll know exactly where to put their hands, or they can see where the pain is. And so the work itself has opened people up to psychic abilities. I've seen people who have even no sensation in their body do extraordinary work. So yes, it can be helpful to have psychic ability. No, it's not necessary at all. And it could be an advantage, but it's not a prerequisite. And yes, people often develop it as a result of doing the work, but it's a bonus. It's the frosting, not the cake.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Karina. Thank you.
I would agree with that. And I would add in, because a lot of times in workshops, people will say, you know, how come that person can see colors and that person can, you know, has intuitive abilities or psychic abilities and all of these things that are, you know, they can be fun. But like Richard said, it's the icing, it's not the cake. And what I would say is, for me, if I want to look at who are the most proficient energy workers, who can I really emulate? Who can I really learn from? It's toddlers. Okay. They are fully in the moment. They are playful. They are unattached. They are having fun. They are playing with the techniques like curious, in a state of curiosity and play. And they don't have psychic abilities that they're consciously aware of in that moment. Some do, but most are just having a good time. And if you come in with that kind of playfulness, the intuitive feelings that you get there are a bonus and sometimes not even needed, because we've got the where does it hurt technique. And so you're guided by the client. And then what happens is their intuitive abilities, their ability to connect with their body, which is in a way more important than us as the practitioner connecting in that way, because they're coming home to their body and suddenly they're saying, actually, could you put your hands here? Because this has come up. And often people have been very disassociated from their body. So it's not something that's needed. Do people's intuition naturally open during the process of running energy over weeks, months, years? Yes, because you develop a sense of presence with the moment and love with the moment. And in that moment, answers and insights are just that were always there. We can receive them much more clearly because we're so present with what we're doing. So it will come anyway, but it isn't needed at all. And I love the question because it's something I get asked a lot in workshops is, do I need to be able to see energy? You know, and this person's having this huge experience and I'm not, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter one bit. It is, you know, it's fun. It's like watching a fireworks display and it's all good fun. But the other thing to remember is that what a person sees in the moment is only in the moment. We're dynamic, we're changing. The message was for that moment. Now we've moved and we've raised frequency. And so the next message that comes through is coming through from a completely different level. And so the things that we do get and the insights and intuition we do get, we just listen but also just let it go and remain in that presence as well. So hopefully that's helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you, Karina. Thank you, Richard. And thank you to Akiko for your great questions. The next question we have is from Pamela in the chat. Pamela asks, how best to help an amputee with phantom pain? Example, if a leg was removed above the knee.
Richard, you could, if you have experience with that, go ahead. I don't.
I haven't had experience with it, but what I would do is I'd work from the place they think they're actually experiencing the pain. I'd put my hands, well, is my hand in the spot where you feel it now? And I'd run energy right into that spot in space. Now, I don't know how many of you remember Kirlian photography. It was very popular in the 70s. And what they found was that there was this phantom leaf effect. They would actually cut a part of the leaf off and they would put the thing on the Kirlian device and you'd see the entire leaf. So the leaf was still present in its field. And so I imagine with phantom limb pain, the entire limb is still there energetically, but it isn't there physically. So I would work energetically, running energy into the part where they still feel it, as if it was actually there. And please let us know how it turns out, because this is my theoretical approach to doing it. And I believe I'm right, but I won't know until you tell us.
Great. Thank you, Richard.
Mhm.
Wonderful. And thank you to Pamela for her question. Next in the chat, we have Amanda, who asks, wouldn't reverse aging reverse all damage through the whole body and organs?
The whole idea is, if you get the energy high enough, the body heals itself. It's the same principle as basic quantum touch. If you get the energy high enough, the body reverses the entropy. The entropy is the breakdown, going from order to disorder. You mix salt and pepper, you stir it up, it's hard to separate it. You break a piece of glass or an egg, you can't put it back together again. You cut your finger, however, and it heals. That's disorder going back to order. That's neg entropy, or the word I prefer is syntropy. Now, the body heals itself, and we've been through this a few times today discussing it. Now, the question is, can you get the life force energy high enough, strong enough, long enough that you actually reverse aging? And now the answer is in. Yes, you can. Now, are you committed? So I've got chapters on, changing your diet and how you process the trauma and other factors that are part of the story, because you just can't do it by itself. You need to integrate it within your whole life. But I've got all the chapters there. And so now we're seeing that, and here's the joke, longevity takes a long time. So if a train is going down the track, and that's called entropy, it's gradually deteriorating. How many years does it take? Maybe you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. How long has the entropy been going on? So first you have to slow it, then you got to stop it, and then you got to reverse it. So for some people, for everybody, if you're just running energy, you're slowing it. You've already succeeded. You take basic quantum touch, you're slowing it. That's just unquestionably true. If you work with the energy strong enough, you can stop it. If you get committed and get really serious about it, we're seeing it reversing. And I am, without a doubt, reversing my age. But it's slow. It's irritatingly slow because, yes, I see symptoms, like it's like another 6 months or a year, and I'm seeing, oh yeah, I'm making this progress, and I'm actually turning it back. And so, like, I have no pain. I'm on no medications. I'm not taking steroids or peptides. I can sprint as easily as I ever could. I'm stronger than I've ever been. And I'm officially 77 now. So what is this telling me? And I think my wrinkles are disappearing on my face gradually. It's not my priority. It's just one of the 1,000 functions, 100,000 million functions in the body that is expressing itself through the work. So this is so straightforward and clear, but it requires commitment on the person's part. So one little step you can take in improving your diet lifestyle, which is one of the factors. You can't ignore it. You can overcome diet and lifestyle energy-wise, but why would you want to put all your energy to do that when you could just when you could use it for other kinds of healing? And it's the simplest thing in the world. Just make one small change every week that you'll never go back on. That's it. That's the whole thing about changing diet lifestyle. Well, I never have to eat Oreos again. Yeah, I can live the rest of my life. Well, what would I want to do instead? Oh, well, maybe I could have strawberries and whipped cream. That will be just as delicious, maybe more so. And I'll feel good about myself for having made a better decision. My body will feel the difference, and you get a triple benefit because you've done something good. Your self-esteem goes up because you've had integrity to follow your own principles, and your body notices the improvement. So it's a whole process. And that's why, it really requires a book and study and dedication. But those who are the most dedicated will be able to reverse their aging. But there's a whole chapter in the book about the death wish, because everybody wants to leave at some point. Because if you were in kindergarten forever listening to Barney the dinosaur, singing I love you, you love me, at some point you just want to get out of there. And so the question is, how do you maintain your desire, your passion, your excitement, your exuberance strong enough to want to stick around? Because in this highly polarized reality where it's tough, I mean, we all know it. We all experience the grief and the loss and the hurt and the betrayals. All that stuff happens. Yes, it does. But how do you maintain your levels of desire strong enough that you don't mind the pain and the difficulties? And at some point, it happens to everybody. You say, okay, I've had enough, but you don't have to wait until you get hit by a truck or a disease. You can consciously go into a meditation and connect with your higher self and say, what an amazing ride. What an amazing life this has been. I think I'm ready to check out now. Let's go. So you go into meditation, step out and keep going. And you can have your big celebration with the people you love. And then when you're ready, you just lay down in your bed and, okay, that was great. What a ride. And then step out and you're on your way. And so that's the ideal. But it's not about living 5,000 years, although you could. But dragging that even youthful body around is not ideal. So be here as long as you like. And then try to build your passion, desires, intensities, and love and joy higher and higher and higher as you go along. And then when you're ready, you can say, all right, screw you guys, I'm out of here. Do it, Eric Cartman, and just walk on out. And that's the ideal.
Great, thank you. What a fabulous answer, Richard. And I got the memo loud and clear. No more cookies. It's strawberries and whipped cream now, I guess. So
well, it's a better step.
Yes, thank you. Great, and thank you to Amanda for her question. Next in the chat we have Vanita. And Vanita says, well, first she says she's coming to Portugal, which is a very exciting retreat, Quantum-Touch retreat in October, 5-day retreat. Wonderful. That's great, Vanita. And Vanita asks, she says, please share about metal parts, nails, artificial knee, etc., disappearing, replaced by body recovery. So I think when she says nails, maybe she means screws if people are held together by screws and so on. So if either of you have experience with that, then go ahead, or thoughts to share.
I haven't heard of it yet, but I don't say it's impossible because I don't know what's impossible.
I've definitely worked with people with pacemakers. I don't know if that counts for the question, but what it does do is quantum touch will help something that is a foreign object to be welcomed into the field, to be welcomed into the body, not be rejected and seen as something that shouldn't be there. And so by bringing a loving, healing energy around whatever it might be, whether it's the pacemaker or whether it's, a metal plate or screws, sometimes the body can try to reject that because of conflict, emotional conflict, physical conflict. But when you bring the quantum touch energy into that area, it helps the body to absorb, accept that in a loving way and to settle it into the body. That's what I've done.
I remember, and this is just off the wall. You ask an off the wall question, I'm going to give you an off the wall answer. It was 1979, and I was at a lecture by a man named Reverend Willard P. Fuller, and he would pray for your teeth. And I watched my business partner, and every few minutes I'd look into his mouth and his fillings disappeared and teeth took their place. Now, that is crazy. I get it, but I saw it. I'm not going to deny I saw it. And so is it possible that metal parts could dissolve? And yeah, but just like Karina said, it is much more likely the body will learn how to embrace the helpful part that's there and integrate it. And we've seen that hundreds of times where the body just says, oh, you got this plate or the screw or whatever, great. Let's make use of it now. And it's helping me out. So it works around it and through it, making it seamless into your body. It integrates it nicely. Is it possible it could dissolve? Well, I've seen matter pass through matter. I don't know what's possible. I know that I don't know what the limits are.
Fascinating. Thank you, Richard and Karina. Thank you, Vanita. Excuse me. Vanita also asked to share about long-term bed-bound people healing. I don't know if either of you have experience with that, but go ahead.
Would say I don't have any experience with that, but what I would say is there was a fellow, remember, it was in Santa Rosa, a really cool guy. He was in my workshop. He was paraplegic, and he gave a new name to Quantum Touch I had never heard before. He called Quantum Touch a pain in the ass. And the reason he gave it that name was before the Quantum Touch sessions, he couldn't feel the bed sores on his butt. But after getting Quantum Touch, he could feel them. And that meant his whole nervous system was awakening. And it meant that he was actually healing the nerves in his body. And that is totally remarkable. So yes, Quantum Touch can be a pain in the butt.
That's a funny story. I love that story. Yes, there are multiple healing stories about people who have really, really come from one end of being bedbound and then into having the ability to bounce with energy. I've seen that happen to quite a few people with the previously known as self-created health workshop now becoming whole. Repressed emotions can do a huge amount to repress physical energy. Huge. And so often when people will say they've got chronic fatigue or anything like that, where they are so fatigued and they feel exhausted and they feel drained, and they always thought it was just a physical thing. And when they come into the workshop and they learn how to fully express their anger in a really safe and contained and loving frame that is taught in that workshop, I've seen people who didn't have the energy to even get out of bed to literally having more energy than they've ever had in their whole life. For some people, it happens in a matter of weeks. For some people, it's a much longer process, but the key is consistency.
Yeah, I can think of a case like that also, where she was like almost bedbound, and then she told me next time she saw me, she's running up a mountain. So yeah, these things definitely happen, especially with self-created health, where the reason you're holding back physically is due to core emotional issues. And self-created health, when I came up with it, I thought was my most important insight I would ever have. It took me 30 years to develop it. Now it's called Becoming Whole. But it's the way we find the emotional causes of why we're allowing our body to deteriorate or break down or whatever it is. And when we find them, not only do symptoms go away, but people feel grateful for having had the condition. And to give you a preview, it turns out that the emotions you feel as a result of having the condition are a mirror of emotions you didn't want to feel that caused the condition. But the process, knowing what the cause is only 15% or 10% of the journey, because you can find the emotional cause, but you're still stuck in it. Then what you need to do is you need to learn how to release the hurt, anger, shame, and guilt that are holding it tightly in place. And once you've released these core elements, and that's part of what's in the Lazar's book, is understanding the core emotional structure of the spiritual reality that we live in. And it's not specifically designed towards self-created health, but it covers some of the larger issues of the subject.
Wonderful. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Karina. And thank you, Vanita. Those were some fantastic questions. And we're approaching the end of the hour, so I'm going to scroll through the chat and select the questions from people who have not had a chance to ask a question yet. So if you see me skipping through, that's why, and I'll try to get to all of them, but we're getting close to the end. Nancy asks, I lost my taste when I had COVID 3.5 years ago. I recovered all my taste except the taste for coffee. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this. Thanks.
I can't help you on that one. I still don't have much after COVID. I don't smell coffee unless I smell the can. I've lost the smell of it. So I still enjoy it, but I don't really taste it very well.
That's interesting. Well, what's coming to me is, first of all, the level 4 brain work would be really useful for that. Just reintegrating energy into different parts of the brain would really wake things up. But also, I'm really curious about whether it's, what is within that? Is there another layer underneath that? Is there a part of you that's saying, okay, I don't want to have the coffee. I want it, but I don't want it.
No.
There's a conflict somewhere, maybe, Nancy. I don't know.
I don't understand it. And I just respond and tell the truth about what's happening. And I love coffee. It's one of my favorite things. And so I'm still drinking it and enjoy it. It's just that I don't taste it as much as I used to. So I'm kind of mixing in some other incredible ingredients like MCT oil, ghee, collagen, bone broth, and some super protein powder. So I'm making this incredible drink in the morning with healthy fats and other factors that is delicious. But no, I don't have access to all the coffee scent. But I think what COVID did is it affects some part inside the brain that had to do with the olfactory factors. And I don't know why, but maybe at some point that'll be healed in me, or maybe not. I don't really miss it as much as I could, because I don't miss something I don't experience, but there it is.
Great. Thank you, Richard and Karina. And thank you for your question, Nancy. We have a question from Joseph, and Joseph asks, for how long should I do Quantum Touch every day on myself to see results? I recently completed level 1, and I find that I get fatigued after 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, well, you're just starting out. What I do in the reverse aging processes, and so they're a little different than what you've been doing previously, is I will use it as intensely as I can as I'm going to sleep. And so I'll spend 10, 15, 20 minutes until I go to sleep. Sometimes it's short, sometimes it's longer. If I'm having trouble going to sleep, great, I get a whole half an hour of really pumping the energy through myself and amping up the healing inside my body. I'll do it in the morning. I'll do it when I think about it. I don't really concern myself about it. But what you want to do is amplify the life force energy through your body. And just the process of doing the basic breathing and sweeping is the first step in the process. And as you learn more, like the infinity vortex and some other extraordinary techniques that we're working with, you're going to get stronger and stronger. And by the way, I don't hold back when I write books. I just give you the straight stuff. So don't worry about missing pieces. It's all there. Now, it's not that there aren't other pieces I didn't do, because it's clear that there are other pieces that are being put in the workshop, but they're not necessarily my pieces.
Thank you, Richard. And so we're coming to the end of the hour, but I'll just sneak in one last question from somebody who hasn't had a chance to ask about yet, and that's Sandhu. And Sandhu asks, if the patient has no spiritual knowledge, do we risk to take his karma? Do you send your gift to be protected of taking bad karma from the patient? And that's from Fernanda from Romania.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Richard or Karina.
Okay, you're not affecting their karma. Their karma is to receive love from you because you're there. And you're not taking on their karma because your gift is to give love. And so don't worry.
Great, thank you. Karina, do you have any thoughts to add on that one?
Yes. So if we go back to the basic principles of resonance and entrainment that we have throughout all the Quantum Touch workshops, if our focus is on raising our frequency to a really high level, then what happens is they come up to meet us, and energy follows thought. And so if our thought and all of our attention is on things that make us feel connected, loving, joyful, and we're sweeping and breathing if we're using level 1. And so it means our full attention is on our own body and in our own space. And what we're not doing is entering into their space. We're creating a field which is an invitation for them to come up and entrain to that energy. And so they meet us where we are rather than us meeting them when they are, which is why it's such a safe way to work with energy, because we are not stepping into other people's business.
I'm gonna try them on.
What was that you said, Richard?
I said beautifully said.
Oh, yes, I agree. Thank you so much. And thank you to Sandu for your question. Thank you, everyone. We have reached the end of the hour. What an amazing hour of so many questions coming in. We didn't get to a few of them, but that's okay. I invite you all to come back next month. Next month, we will have Richard along with Miriam Hunter on October 30th. Be sure to subscribe to the Quantum Touch newsletter to receive the announcements of the Ask Quantum Touch. And thank you to Richard and Karina for your presence today, for your wisdom, for all of your beautiful answers. Karina is an active instructor, trainer, practitioner, and ambassador, and you're welcome to connect to her through the Quantum Touch website. You just go to www.quantumtouch, and then you'll be able to find her there. And thank you to Richard. I'm so excited for your next book and appreciate you coming here today. Do either of you want to say anything before we hop off?
Just thank you, everybody. It's been a real pleasure to be here. Appreciate everyone's sincerity and do the work because it'll raise you and everyone else.
Thank you so much, Renee. Thank you, Richard. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And what I will say is, it's such a joyful journey. So like Richard says, he runs energy at night before he goes to sleep. However you're using it, however you're playing with it, just have fun and use it consistently is definitely going to take you a very long way.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you to everyone for joining. Sending so much love, light, and life force energy to you all. And we will see you in October. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.